Connor and Chelsea were at Crimson Lights, having what was supposed to be lunch. Sandwich? Drink? Hard to say, since neither seemed to actually get consumed. The conversation was wholesome enough. Connor was updating Chelsea about his OCD improvements and his new schedule, while Sally made a cameo entrance. Connor lit up, saying he'd missed her, and then promptly got a text from a friend, announcing he was off to meet them. Cue the big exit, leaving his untouched sandwich and a barely sipped drink behind. Seriously? Not a bite, not a sip, and Chelsea didn't even blink. Guess calories don't count when you're on camera. Of course, we all know why this happens. Actors don't eat on screen. Heaven forbid they chew in a close-up. But still, could they at least pretend to graze on something? Maybe trim the props down so it looks less like a waste, or, I don't know, take a tiny sip from the drink instead of leaving it glaringly full. The little details matter. Anyway, back to the plot. It was kind of heartbreaking to hear Connor ask Chelsea if he could still be friends with Sally. Poor kid clearly knows there's drama between his parents and their former partners, and now he's tiptoeing around the fallout. How sad is that? Also, on a completely unrelated but equally important note, Jordan was eating steak and asparagus in another scene. How does she love asparagus but hate Brussels sprouts? They taste pretty similar. Add that one to the pile of mysteries alongside the untouched sandwich and the brimming drink. Hey everyone, welcome back to Radiant Serum. I'm Aubrey, and I hope your day is shining bright. Thank you for joining me. Let's jump right into today's video. That was brutal with Billy. I was fuming at Jack when he flat out told Billy he couldn't return to Jabot. Billy came to him completely broken, and Jack just said no, without even explaining why. Seriously, Jack should have confided in him about what's really going on, and at least offered him another position at Jabot. Yes, Jack did ask Billy to wait a couple of days for an explanation and a final answer. But Billy, being Billy, demanded an immediate answer, leaving Jack no choice but to say no. Still, the way Jack handled it, cold. Honestly, I think Jack does want Billy back at Jabot, maybe even running Glissade. But Jack and Diane are in a holding pattern, waiting to hear from the lawyers about whatever sneaky fine print Victor buried. Once they know, the charade between Jack and Diane can finally stop. Let's face it, this we're on the outs act is ridiculous, and Victor probably hasn't been fooled for a second. Jack wants Kyle to apologize, while Diane's pushing for something grander, like making Kyle co-CEO of Jabot, because that'll end well, right? Speaking of poor treatment, Jack always seems to keep Billy in the dark, so this latest snub is no surprise. And let's not overlook what Billy's dealing with, admitting how broken he feels after Jill sold Chancellor right out from under him. Let's not forget it was Jill who begged Billy to leave Jabot, claiming he was the only one she trusted. Then she turns around and pulls this? Sure, she's sick, but not confiding in her own son is a gut punch. Jack could have handled this so much better. All he had to do was say, "Look, there's a situation at Jabot. Give me 2 days, and we'll figure out where you fit." That's it. But no, Jack went full Stonewall. And don't even get me started on Glissade. This is going to blow up in Diane's face. It's just a matter of how. Maybe it'll come out that Kyle stole the formula, and there's a problem with it. Or worse, there's proof of the theft baked into the formula, leaving Diane in legal hot water. Either way, this Glissade debacle feels like a ticking time bomb. Hopefully, this break between Chance and Summer is just temporary. At least, that's the vibe I got. Summer was understandably devastated. Her mother's in a coma, and emotions were running sky-high. But Chance? He completely dismissed her feelings. I get that he was doing his job, and the evidence didn't warrant Sharon's arrest, but his approach came off as so insensitive. He might as well have told Summer to just get over it. Instead, he outright said he wouldn't have done anything differently. Who says that to their girlfriend when she's already crushed? A little compassion would have gone a long way, Chance. That said, maybe this is just his bad luck with Nubian women. They never make it easy. I predicted this fallout the second these two hooked up. No matter what he does, he can't win. Same thing happened with Abby. Still, his handling of this case has been rough, and while Summer was hurt, Chance didn't do himself any favors by coming off as dismissive and, let's face it, a little dumb. As for Style, there's still hope. It's not over until it's really over. I mean, Kyle and Summer's chemistry hasn't gone anywhere, so who knows what's in store. Meanwhile, I've been enjoying the Sharon/Nick dynamic again, though I'm not rooting for a full-blown reunion. I just love seeing those glimpses of why they worked so well back in the day. That said, this dark storyline is a tough one. Fingers crossed for brighter days ahead, for all of us still holding onto our favorite couples. Now, back to Chance's so-called detective work. Was he doing his job? Technically, but poorly? Absolutely. Did he even check alibis? From the outside, it looks like he latched onto one possible suspect, found a shred of evidence, and called it a day. Unforgivable, especially given Sharon's long history in the community. Compare this to the Ashland case, where Chance went all out, digging deeper because something didn't feel right. Back then, he sacrificed his morals for Abby and Victor, but at least he did the legwork. Fast forward to now, and Chance has turned into a flippant, condescending investigator. The line that got me? When he said something like, "Well, the DA's made up their mind, so there's nothing I can do." Are you kidding me? The old Chance wouldn't have let that slide. He'd have found the truth, no matter what. Honestly, I blame the writers for this one. Maybe they can show us a flashback where Ian and Jordan were secretly spiking Chance's vitamins with brain fog juice. At this point, that explanation would make more sense than the current version of Chance. Huge news alert. Tomorrow's Canadian episode sounds like a doozy. We've got Skyle bonding and holding hands, cue the hopeful sighs. Summer and Chance officially breaking up finally. Lucy making her grand return. And, drumroll please, Red, Phyllis, waking up. Now, here's the real question. Is Danny making an appearance too? Or is his never-ending tour schedule still more important than being there for his son? Priorities, Danny. As for Chance and Summer splitting, I'm honestly glad. Bet Chance feels more relieved than heartbroken. That relationship was a mess waiting to happen from the start. But on the downside, we're back to hearing Phyllis' big mouth again. Prepare yourselves, everyone. Her "I'm never wrong" monologues are about to take center stage. Buckle up. Billy confides in Jack that Jill sold Chancellor to Victor and unceremoniously kicked him out of the company. Jack is floored. Jill's decision makes no sense to him. Billy, meanwhile, is seething and ready for payback. Jack, ever the voice of reason, advises him not to act impulsively while his emotions are still raw, and surprisingly, Billy agrees. He tells Jack he just wants to prove he's resilient and asks for a lifeline. The co-CEO position at Chibot. With Kyle at Glissade and Diane fired, the spot is wide open. Billy insists that having a purpose will help him get back on track. Here's the catch. Jack can't give him the job, not because he doesn't want to, but because the whole Diane firing charade will unravel soon, and he can't explain that yet. Jack lets Billy down gently, sort of, saying he can't help him, but things will make sense in a few days. Naturally, Billy doesn't take this well. Feeling rejected and unsupported, he storms out, angry that even his own family doesn't seem to believe in him. Billy ends up at the GCAC, drowning his sorrows. Enter Sally. After some drinks and a little commiserating, the two share a kiss. Looks like their love story is about to heat up. Lucy's back in town, adding some sweetness to the chaos. Meanwhile, Chance and Summer cross paths at Crimson Lights, and things aren't exactly amicable. Summer is furious that Chance didn't follow up on her suspicions about Sharon and accuses him of giving up too easily. Chance doubles down, insisting he did his job by the book and wouldn't change a thing even if he had the chance. That's the last straw for Summer. She breaks up with him on the spot. Finally, in the most dramatic turn of events, Phyllis opens her eyes. Buckle up, because her return is bound to shake things up. Billy's situation is frustrating, but he's partly a victim of the ridiculous fake breakup scheme between Jack and Diane. While his anger at Jack is understandable, it's also worth noting that Jack doesn't owe him a job. Billy's past decisions, like quitting as CEO of Jabot, played a big role in creating this mess. His departure fueled Kyle's assumption that the position was his, setting off the domino effect we're seeing now. Billy does seem cursed with bad luck, but how much of it is truly bad luck, and how much is self-inflicted? That said, watching him turn to Sally might be the shakeup his storyline needs. What's next for Summer, Chance, and Phyllis? The drama just keeps coming. If I were Sharon and truly believed I'd done what she confessed to, there's no way I could handle Daniel showing up at my house. I'd be screaming at him to get out now. Whatever Sharon's going through is real to her, but having Daniel in her home under these circumstances? Absolutely not. He should stick to Crimson Lights, or better yet, be banned altogether. Let's not forget, Sharon once barged into Daniel and Heather's apartment, uninvited, to yell at them about their parenting and Lucy. That's rich, considering the current situation. Now, I get Daniel's anger and frustration. He's dealing with a lot. But going full attack mode at Sharon's house wasn't the way to handle it. Christine should have advised him to focus on his mom's recovery and let the legal system handle Sharon. Instead, we're getting this messy, emotional outburst. That said, why is Sharon immune to criticism? For weeks, she was ranting and raving at Daniel for no clear reason. Now that the tables have turned, suddenly no one's allowed to give Sharon a piece of their mind. It doesn't work like that. Sharon's actions have consequences, and Daniel has every right to be upset. Consider where Daniel's coming from. He's grieving the loss of the woman he loved. He's terrified he might lose his mother too. And he's separated from Lucy at the worst possible time. Lucy wasn't even at her mother's service, but Sharon was? That's a lot for anyone to bear. Daniel is lashing out because it feels like the only thing he can do. Still, Sharon's current situation is completely unrealistic. She confessed to murder, covering up the crime, and framing someone else. On top of that, she's a prime suspect in Phyllis' accident. Yet, instead of sitting in jail awaiting sentencing, she's at home, planning her defense. Where's the logic? Did Daniel even knock when he showed up, or did he use a stolen key? Either way, Sharon's the one who set him up. He has every reason to be furious. But apparently, it's coddle Sharon time again. The same Sharon who's been acting erratically for weeks, and no one thought to check if she was taking the right medication. Frankly, they've ruined Sharon. I'm so tired of the endless excuses and lack of consequences. Meanwhile, Phyllis is lying in a coma, and her children are stuck at the hospital with no real support, other than Daniel's dad's girlfriend. The imbalance here is staggering. These writers need a reality check. Sharon confessed, but instead of heading toward sentencing, we're dealing with bail hearings and weak plot lines. It's frustrating, to say the least. I love Phyllis, both the character and the actress, so this is fantastic news. With her awake, the narrative is about to take a sharp turn. That said, while I'm thrilled for her recovery and Daniel's charges being dropped, the Sharon storyline still feels like a mess. Sure, maybe Sharon didn't kill Heather, fine, but let's not forget the bigger picture. She did frame Daniel, which caused Lucy to miss her own mother's funeral. If they sweep Sharon's cover-up under the rug with some flimsy excuse, it'll be beyond ridiculous. I know the show has a history of redeeming characters who've done terrible things. Victor thrives despite his countless misdeeds, and Michael went from villain to hero. But for Sharon, it feels like a bridge too far. Even if they pin her actions on medication tampering, which seems likely given Michael's investigation into her meds, The character feels ruined to me. I wouldn't mind seeing her take a long break from the spotlight. What's next for Sharon? A hospital stay seems inevitable, especially if Ian or Jordan messed with her medications. She'll probably get time to heal, both mentally and legally, but there should be real consequences. At the very least, community service for framing Daniel feels appropriate. Once this all settles, I imagine Sharon will move to the back burner for a while. Nick's missed opportunity. I really wish Nick had confronted Daniel about Phyllis' warped version of events. Phyllis wasn't there during the Cameron situation and has been spreading a biased, incomplete narrative. If Nick had told Daniel the truth, how Sharon was tortured and Lucy was literally strapped with explosives, it could have shifted his perspective. Let's be honest, both Daniel and Summer would have done exactly what Sharon did if they'd been in her shoes. Phyllis needs to stop spinning her own version of events to make Sharon look worse. It's time for Daniel and Summer to hear the full, unvarnished truth. Nick had the perfect chance to set the record straight, and I wish he'd taken it. When an actor plays someone in a coma, it really makes you wonder, do they get paid the same for lying still in a coma as they would for delivering 12 pages of dramatic dialogue? Honestly, Phyllis looks way too good for someone in a coma. Have these actors ever actually seen someone in that state? Realism clearly takes a backseat in Genoa City. And let's not forget Sharon's post-surgery glow. Weeks after cancer surgery, she was strutting around in heels and low-cut tops like it was no big deal. Is it something in the Genoa City water? Miracle doctors, whatever it is, I'll take some. As for pay, I think actors are paid hourly or per episode, rather than by how many lines they have. If that's the case, those coma days are a pretty sweet gig. Easy money, right? Team Summer all the way. I would have done exactly what Summer did. She was absolutely right to give Chance a piece of her mind, and even more right to break up with him. So many people told him to take a closer look at Sharon, but did he listen? Nope. Classic dumb cop move. I'm glad she's done with him. He's been awful to her family, so good riddance. Let him run back to his crazy old girl. And let's not forget his double standards. He looked the other way when Abby's family covered up Ashland's death. Nick killed Ashland, and the Newmans staged the accident to hide the truth, and Chance just went along with it. It's not a great look for Genoa City's only cop. Back then, he didn't prosecute Victor either because he was married to Princess Abby. I guess he's finally learned his lesson about the Newmans, but it's a little late for that now. How did Ian pull this off? I'd love to know how Ian Ward managed to mess with Sharon's meds. Seriously, how did he do it? If this all went down at Sharon's cottage, it's not like she's living in complete isolation. People are constantly coming and going. Sharon, Faith, Mariah, Nick, heck, even Cameron was around at one point. So how could Ian have had the opportunity to tamper with her medication? Wait a second, what if the tunnels Cameron made when he kidnapped Faith are still there? Maybe Ian used those tunnels to get in undetected and mess with Sharon's meds. Now that would be a twist. Of course, it's worth mentioning that it hasn't been confirmed yet that Sharon's meds were actually tampered with. There's a lot of speculation, but as of now, neither Ian nor Jordan has said anything about tampering with her medication directly. Still, it's fun to think about the possibilities, right? Lucy's boyfriend's name is what? So Lucy's boyfriend's name is Scotty? Really? And he's her age. That's a bit of a shocker. I'm wondering, could he be related to Lauren? Maybe her grandson Scott Granger Iwe? It's a bit too much of a coincidence to ignore, right? Honestly, I was expecting a more modern, trendy name for Lucy's friend, but Scotty? Unless he really is a relative of Scott Granger, it feels a little outdated. But hey, maybe that's the twist. Billy's pushing 50, yet people still act like he's a spoiled child. But honestly, I don't see it that way. His own mother sold him out, to Victor no less. She's shown more loyalty to Victor and her dead husband's legacy than to her own son. It's a pathetic excuse for motherhood, and she's been this way from the start. Billy might not be the perfect businessman like his father or brother, but he's certainly not the spoiled brat some make him out to be. He thought that because his mom owned Chancellor Industries, he could waltz in and call the shots, especially with Lily. But his nasty attitude pushed Lily away, and Devin didn't hesitate to demerge the company and walk. Billy's lack of respect cost him, and honestly, he deserved the fallout from Jill. My only issue is that Jill didn't even give Devin the chance to buy the company. That was a big misstep. And let's talk about Billy's brother. He's lost the family company more than once. When you actually look at what we see on screen, Billy's no bigger screw-up than Jack or most of the other so-called brilliant business leaders in Genoa City. He's definitely not more egotistical or full of himself than Victor, Kyle, or even his own brother. The problem is the show has everyone acting like Billy's the only one who's out of control or making mistakes, and that's just lazy writing. His behavior isn't any worse than anyone else's, but the show treats him like a screw-up. It's frustrating. Jill's a horrible mother to Billy. She's always been colder and more focused on Kane than her own son, and Billy has tried, time and time again, to support her. But she never appreciates him. She's the definition of a poor excuse for a mother. Kyle and his muffin run. Really? I can't believe Kyle actually went into Crimson Lights to grab chocolate chip muffins for Harrison. I get it. He wanted to run into Summer and how little heart-to-heart. But seriously, doesn't he know Ms. Martinez is always baking Harrison chocolate chip cookies? It's like the kid's constantly being overloaded with sugar. These great parents should really be paying attention to the fact that all the sugar isn't doing Harrison's growing mind any favors. I mean, come on, he's just a kid. But hey, I guess that's the least of their worries at the moment. Oh, and I'm convinced Crimson Lights has the only decent coffee in Genoa City. It's good to see that people are still supporting Sharon's business, even if there's a lot of drama going on. Jordan's disguises. What's next? So, on the latest episode, Ian Ward was basically praising Jordan for her past disguises and encouraging her to blend in with Sharon's family to see how they're handling the news about Sharon's arrest for Heather's murder. We've already seen Jordan dressed as a man and in some questionable wigs when she was involved in the whole Nikki's AA sponsor incident. So now I'm wondering, what kind of disguise will she be rocking this time? Let's be honest, Jordan's wigs have never looked like high-end fashion. The last time she wore one, it looked like something straight out of a bargain bin. As for the man disguise, well, it was the best of the bunch, but honestly, he looked more like a character you'd see wandering the English countryside than someone blending into a high society event. I can only imagine what they have in store for us next. Drop your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree or disagree? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more updates. Your opinions matter, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.